What is going on, everybody? Well, things look a little different. I know. This is Garry B. Jr. with you guys. I am in a remote location, so I'm not at home right now, but, or I should say at my office, but I'm working on some other projects and having some fun and doing some cool things. But I wanted to make sure that I could jump on live with you guys so we can have a discussion about some things going on with FreeShow. So I've got the chat going on my phone. So if y'all see me looking down at my phone, it's because that's what I got. I don't have another monitor to look at here. But we got a few folks on. We got Dilson on. What's going on, Mr. Dilson? We've got Janet, from Wyoming. John from Trinidad Tobago. And we got John from Romania. Brian from Michigan. What is good? David from sunny South Africa. I like how you put the sunny part in there. I don't know how I feel about that right now because it's not sunny where I'm at. How's the weather where everybody else is at? I'm curious. Is it sunny? Here where I'm at, it's a little cool, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Like I said, so I'm using a stripped down setup. Send me some feedback. How does the audio sound? Is it at least clear enough where you all can hear me? I know it's not going to sound like it does in my office, but I want to make sure that it's at least decent to where you guys can hear what's going on and see what's going on. It's going to be the goal. All right. I got a little lamp here, so it's there. We're working with what we got. This is the fun part of media and production and stuff like that. So I'm excited. I'm excited to be here with you guys. We're going to go ahead and jump in. I've got some other commitments going on today. Let's see here. Ooh-wee. 12 inches of snow. And Janice, you're in Wyoming? Yeah, that makes sense. I could see that. Turned 60. So I'm guessing you're saying you turned 60 2 days ago. So if that's the case, happy birthday. And that's exciting. And so we're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff. So we've been on a bit of a journey of talking about FreeShow in depth from the planning phase, like setting it up, right, which is important. Well, I think that's a step that a lot of people miss because they want to jump right into it, which I get it. I have the same excitement. I'm like, I just want to start using this program. It's really cool. And then we jumped into the preparation phase. So the setup has to do with all the hardware you've got, all the equipment you've got, the monitors, the computers, inputs, outputs, live stream equipment, all that kind of stuff. The templates that you're going to use, the style you're going to use, the colors you're going to use, that's all a part of your setup. And then we talked about the preparation for each service where you set up a project template. Oh, 62 degrees. Oh, 60 degrees 2 days ago, sorry. Thanks, Janet, for clarifying that for me. All right, so it was 60 degrees 2 days ago and then 12 inches of snow last night. So I'm guessing that snow didn't stick, right? Hopefully it didn't stick. That's crazy. But that preparation phase is where you're really preparing for what happens week to week as opposed to just the mainstay, right? So we talked about that last time. And then today the goal is going to be to talk about how to deal with the unexpected things in FreeShow, along with the I'm going to call it a big update. It's a big update to me, okay? It's a lot of cool stuff that happened in FreeShow just over the past week. Hopefully you guys got to see a couple of the videos that came out about captions. That was one that I think I released that on Saturday maybe, or Friday afternoon, I can't remember. And then another one we released, that one was about creating or using FreeShow to make a scoreboard. Now that one came up from a question from Reddit, all right? Now the reason that's important, and actually the caption one was talked about on Reddit as well, okay? So that's a really big place to get some good feedback and the latest and greatest, I should say, on what's going on, and then getting to talk with the development team is what I call them, and they can really give us a lot of good feedback on how and what to use when it comes to how the program works and all that kind of stuff. So I always love that, to hear from those guys, because they really give a lot of good insight. And so that scoreboard thing came because there were some changes that happened in the update through that conversation on Reddit. And they've streamlined the variables, and I didn't even understand what the variables were, to be honest with you, under the functions tab. So we're going to jump into FreeShow here. So let's talk about, first off, how do you navigate real time during a service for unexpected things? And to me, one of the first unexpected things you'll probably run into has to do with getting some slides, some notes, or whatever it may be, and they're coming to you that morning of, or that day of, that evening of, if it's an evening service, and you've got to navigate how to get these ready and uploaded onto FreeShow and working properly. Now, if you're part of the Facebook group, I know that someone tipped me off to say that there was some info or some challenges going on with importing PowerPoints. And there was another discussion on Reddit about importing PDFs, and there were challenges on both sides. And so I've been doing some investigation on how to make that as streamlined as possible from a user perspective, right? I'm not a developer, I'm not a coder or anything like that. Those guys are really good at what they do. I'm more of a general user slash trainer slash consultant. That's my approach to it, is how do we make this easy to understand and or to use? And so the first thing I would say is, when it comes to importing PowerPoints, I think the very best way to do that is to export them as images, okay? Now, I don't know how to do that in PowerPoint out the gate, but I'm guessing it's gonna be a file option in the menu, and then export of some sort, and you can select as pictures like JPEGs or something like that. I do use Keynote, okay? And that's on the Mac. And so on Keynote, I'll give you guys a view of what that would look like. This is a presentation that I've got here. Let's see, we got Brian Richards. So in ProPresenter, he says you can use macros so that when a slide advances, it can send a MIDI message to change PTZ cameras and or presets. An individual could run everything. Can you show us how? That would be great if I knew how to do that, John. I mean, Brian, that's a pretty interesting thing. So the PTZ camera piece, I don't have any of that equipment, and then the MIDI stuff, I don't have any of that equipment either. So do you have that equipment currently, Brian? And if so, break down how to use it, and we can probably go from there. I might be able to give some info or some insight on how that looks and how that works. But going into inputting these particular slides. So these slides, I don't even think they do anything special. Let's see. If I hit play, when I arrow, all right. So they do have some animation to them, right? And so what happens if you export these as images, you will lose that animation, right? And so one thing you can do to combat that, and I think you can do this in PowerPoint, so you all have to help me out if that's possible. You can go to export and you can say images, right? So I can select images. This is in Keynote, which is the Apple version of PowerPoint, all right? So it says here, create an image for each stage of the builds. And what that does is, if you got things coming in line by line, it'll actually make a separate slide for each line that's added to that particular slide or that slideshow, okay? And so I can do JPEGs, which are smaller in this case. I can do JPEG higher quality, and so forth and so on, all right? So I'm gonna say just JPEG, low quality or small, and I'm gonna save it to my desktop. And let's do, I'm gonna call this one training. And the reason I'm doing this is because when I try to import a Keynote, it does not work, right? It just gives me a, I don't know, some kind of weird message that it does not work well, all right? So I can go ahead and close this. I believe it's done, doing what it does. And so I should have a file on my desktop called Battle Business Training. And look at this, it's actually a folder, all right? And it's all these different pieces there. So let's go to FreeShow. I'm gonna go to media. And so this is where you would actually bring this in as a media. And I've been doing some testing, so you'll see that same thing. Excuse my phone, it's trying to connect because I opened up FreeShow. All right, let's go back. All right, and so, okay, I'm looking at my notes from you guys, the chat. The idea is, if you bring it in as a folder in media, it'll give you all those particular slides. So I'm gonna go to desktop, and I've got it here, and I'm gonna say open, all right? So all the slides are there, and remember how I told you about those stages of the builds? It brings them in to where they're there, and I can't go to it, so let's bring them all in as a show. And so let's see if I can do a select all. Okay, I'm gonna select all of them, and it doesn't give me the option to add it to a show. So let's see if I can make a new show. I'm gonna call this Business Planning Training. And we're gonna do empty show. And if I select all of these, oh, it's asking for a new slide. So I'll make a new blank slide. That's a new thing too, all right? And so I'll select this and select that. Let's see if it'll let me drag this in. All right, so I selected all, and then I just dragged them all up, and you notice that all of them came into the slide show, okay? Or into the show. So I can delete this first slide, I don't need that. So I can delete that. And so now I've got all these here, and you can see that they're all there. And if you get to that point where I had those pieces sliding in, you see it's a blank slide, and then I can go to the next point, and the next point, and the next point, based on how it was built. If someone gives you a PowerPoint, I would recommend you export it as images. So you get the file from them, if they email it to you that morning or give it to you on a thumb drive or however they typically do it, I would do that, and then, I just hit escape. When you hit escape, it's like clear all right? But when they do that, then you would need to re-export it as images as opposed to trying to play it through PowerPoint. That would just be the safest way to do it right now, okay, as of today that I know of. This is March 2025, okay? Now, the other part of this had to do with, what if they gave you a PDF, okay? If they gave you a PDF, this is where things got interesting as well, because if you were to export this particular file as a PDF, let's go back into Keynote, all right? And so sometimes people make their slides and they export them as a PDF, which is cool. I'm going to do that same project, and we're gonna do File, Export to, in this case, I've got an option for PDF, which you probably have in PowerPoint as well, for those who are using Windows. And then it gives you some options here in Keynote. I can select these, but I'm just gonna keep it. It says include each stage of builds. I can check that off again to do the same exact thing. Image quality, I've got good, better, best. I'm gonna keep it at good. And then I'll move on from there, and I'll just say save. And we're gonna call this one the same thing. We're gonna call it training. And this is gonna go on the desktop as well. Let's call it training PDF, so I can know the difference. All right. And so what typically happens is when you're in FreeShow, when you go to File and you say Import, you can look for options here for PDF, and down at the bottom it gives you this PDF option. When I click that, I can go to my PDF, and I can scroll through. You'll see all those slides are there, right? And I can say Open, and it's thinking. It's thinking, because it's a lot of slides. But what would end up happening, and the funny thing is I've got this already in here as a current show. Let's see here. So I did, that one is there running now. Let's do, we'll go to Media Monday and just bring this to here, because it didn't do anything. Let's try it again. I'm gonna say import PDF, and we're gonna say this one that we just made from today, and open. And this is what I'm used to seeing. All right, so to open up, typically for me, it would open up those first 4 of them, and it takes a little while to process, which that's fine. It's trying to process these, but there's a better way to do this that doesn't cause these kind of issues, because you got these options down here to render as one document or convert to images, and you can pick one of those. But for me, only 4 of my slides came up, and they're not even showing up yet, and it's just processing it. But if you go to a website, and this was on Reddit as well, if I go to a website called Sterling PDF, all right, what we've, in our discussion, we were talking about, in Reddit at least, they were talking about this idea of a file type called PDF-A. This stands for archive, all right? So if I select PDF to PDF-A here in this Sterling PDF program, it says you can drag, click or drag and drop. So I'm gonna click on this, and I'm gonna pick that same document from my desktop, the business planning PDF, right, from today. I hit open, and it says convert to PDF A-1B, which is fine. So I'm going to say convert, and what it ends up happening is it converts it into a PDF that can be read much easier in FreeShow. And this is like the golden ticket for you to actually use it. If you have Adobe Acrobat Pro, I believe you can export files as PDF-A as well, okay? And this is important so that you can actually get those PDFs to work if someone sends you a PDF. The other option is to convert the PDF to images if they've exported their files out in that way. But the PDF-As actually work really well. And I'm looking at the comments here. Dilson says, Gary, we have 3 laptops that sync through Google Cloud. Usually all the text content syncs. If we have media added on one system, they don't sync. Any tips to sync images and videos inside FreeShow? And so I can keep all the machines in sync. And so, Dilson, when you talk about FreeShow, while this is processing, so this is still processing on the screen. Laptops are synced through Google Cloud. Is that in Cloud Sync in FreeShow that you're doing it? All right, so it just exported and it went to my downloads and it's a PDF-A, right? So it's PDF-PDF-A. Let's look at that. And actually we can just go to FreeShow to look at it. Yeah, so Dilson, let me know, are you using the FreeShow Cloud Sync? Because if so, it should work just fine. I did a video about that. That was a pretty complicated process for me at the time, at least. I haven't revisited it since then. But I'm curious, all right? Let me know. And then Janet says, what is the difference between importing it using PDF versus the PowerPoint option? And so the PowerPoint option, I believe, would give you a similar, if not some type of error, if not the similar error as you see here, where it just kind of freezes up and it gives, I think it would give an error, say, I know when I tried to import Keynote, it said, open up the Keynote program or something like that, and then it would say, can't find the file or something weird. The PDFs, for me, they would just freeze up like this. But what I've done is, we've got that, so I go to my media real quick. If I go to media, and we go to, well, I don't even have to do that. I can just import. I'm gonna just go to import that one. So this is what it looks like. This is the regular training PDF. I'm gonna go to File, Import, and I'm gonna do PDF again. And the one I just downloaded though this time is that PDF-A. When I click that, watch what happens differently. It actually starts to load them up full size as opposed to that slim down trim piece. I'm not sure what you would call that. And it's processing it, and you can see it loading them up. There's a lot of slides here, all right? It's importing them, okay? And it's showing blank right now, which I get, but there's a lot of slides that it's loading up, okay? And my expectation is that it should show them up in a second. At least it would. And I tested this out. I was using 1.3.8, I believe, when I did that. And then if I say, let's see here, render is 1. I don't necessarily want to render this 1. I'm going to do convert to images. Let's see if that gets it going. I haven't tested this out in 1.3.9 just because that just got updated this week, I believe, 1.3.9. But that PDF-A in the past, it would work really well. It may not be working now. We'll see. And I'm in a hotel, so it may not, I don't think it has anything to do with that in terms of my internet speed on this particular situation, but the files used to come up just fine. So we'll see. I'm gonna give it a second to think. I'm gonna look at the comments here. Yeah, so Cloud Sync and FreeShow. That's interesting, Dilson. I'm not sure because it worked just fine in the past for that. It says there's an issue with the syncing media and sometimes it messes with the JSON. Okay, so John from Romania is looking, he's had the same issue. He said it happened to me as a rule of thumb, always do a local backup. But John, so what you're saying is in the past, it did sync up with the media, right? If I remember right, it would sync with the media. He said he hasn't. Sorry, I've had other pressing issues that need to be addressed. And he's been chatting with Christopher a lot this week. Was it particularly about that, John? About the cloud sync? Or is that, oh, that's what your other issues that you were dealing with, right? Dealing with Christopher? Because I think you had told me about your about the files and you're trying to get your live stream to show, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, Dilson. I'm sorry, bro, that that's happening. That it's doing that. We need to make sure that that's clear though, because even this, we might need to report this one as well because it's not showing up like it did in 138, and I'm not sure if it got past the test or through the test, but it did pull in all the files. But that PDF-A worked really good when I tested it out last week, or even earlier this week. Like I said, before I upgraded to 1.3.9. And so I've not tested it out since then. I've been traveling. So that's a good question. If I hit render as one document, let me see what it does. It just did something weird. If I go back to this one, and what I've learned is it does do a lot of processing on the back end to work with these files. And so I've got to be considerate of that to understand what it's doing. And I don't necessarily know exactly what it's doing, but it did not process. But that PDF-A page that was sent, and it's in the Reddit feed, there's a question about PDFs in there. This tool does work really well. It's free. You don't have to pay for Adobe Acrobat Pro, I believe is what you need to do that. And so if you do run into those, like I said, I'll talk with, or make a post in the Reddit feed as well to find out if this is something that can be fixed or if it's another way we need to approach it, because maybe they changed something, but the regular PDF I did not work, right? That was just a regular non-PDF-A PDF. This one was a PDF-A that should work. So going back, same thing. You would probably want to do the same in terms of converting your PDF into images before you do it. So maybe through Adobe Acrobat, you may be able to do that. Let me see here. I wonder if they would even do that, if they would promote being able to do that. That would be a question. So let's do, is not currently configured to be the default. No, don't want to do that. Let's just open that file from my desktop, this one here. We're going to open it with Adobe Acrobat. Okay, so we got it open here, and I can scroll through. You'll see the slides. If I do File, let's say Export to. Yep, it gives you the option to export to images. So you can go through, if you get a PDF real time from a minister or speaker, whatever it is, I would convert it to images. Just convert it all to images and then import those images like we did here, to where you go to your new folder, save them as they'll probably default to put themselves into a folder, and then you can click on one and then just do Windows A or Command A and just drag those into an actual show, and it'll automatically populate all of them in. All right, that would be the best guess when it comes, or the best way to deal with PowerPoint and PDFs right now, at least. All right, let me check these notes again. Let's see here. No, the sync, not the sync. Yeah, the other issues. I don't know about the other versions. I'm new to using the software. Okay. PDF-A probably a bug that needs to be ironed out in the upcoming versions. Well, PDF-A, yeah, it was working fine in 138. That's the cool thing. That was what they were recommending we do in Reddit, at least. They were talking about it and saying, hey, use that Sterling website. And I wish I could copy and paste it. I'll probably try to put this into the description or something like that for you guys, or make a note myself when I get done. Let's see, if I go back to the PDF-A, the Sterling PDF website is really cool. It allows you to do all kinds of cool stuff with converting PDFs. Okay, you can convert certain things to PDF. You can convert PDFs to certain things. Really good stuff, really cool stuff. So definitely helpful tool to check out. I was comparing it to Adobe. It's unable to check for the latest updates. I'll say remind me later. And I was checking out to see the difference, right? And I think it's pretty robust. I just have never used that before, this program, except for this, to convert to PDF-A, all right? The other option I did was try to convert it to PDF-A using the print file option. In my in Apple, you got an option whenever you have a PDF or anything, you can like convert it. Instead of printing it, you can say make it, save it as a PDF. And I believe you got the same option in Windows. Those are on Windows. Let me know for sure if that's an option. And that was another way possibly to get it to be that way, but not quite. Let's see here. Janet says, different issue. We set up announcements to run through a Fire Stick on Screen Presenter. I can't get the Fire Stick to open or show on my front screen. This was all set up for me. No, I don't have a video about that, Janet, about the Fire Sticks. We set up announcements to run through a Fire Stick. And then, is Screen Presenter a program that you're referencing? Let me know. And did I freeze? Oh, let me see. Okay. I was thinking it paused on my phone, so I thought I froze up. But let me know if Screen Presenter is a program, because I've never heard of it if it is, which is cool. And then, let's see here. And you said it won't, I can't get the Fire Stick to open or show on my front screen. And what's the front screen that you're talking about? That's what I want to understand. So yeah, let me know. Let me know. Because I actually don't have a Fire Stick. I'm trying to think about if I ever had one. I feel like I had a Chrome version of a Fire Stick. I just don't remember having one distinctly. I can't say for sure. All right. Now, let's go back into the FreeShow website. Okay, so those are some of the things that I wanted to make sure we understood in terms of just navigating real-time stuff. Unfortunately, they don't work at this latest update like I expected them to or like they used to, and so we'll have to wait and get a follow-up on that. In the meantime, some of the things that did happen that do work are here in FreeShow. So I just went to the FreeShow website for this latest release. And so NDI audio output, I haven't got to test that out yet. I tried to do it, but I didn't have my extra monitor. Like I said, I was traveling. And then output show audio streaming. So that has to do with the connections. I haven't got to test that out yet either. So you guys check it out. Let me know if you get to it before me. But if you go to your connections, this option is called output show. They're saying that this will output audio from FreeShow, which can be cool. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so yes, Screen Presenter is a program that runs advertising announcements. And does it, oh, is it through church apps? Is that the church apps program that runs FreeShow as well? Is it called Screen Presenter? My screen is one of my outputs at the front of the church. Oh, so you got it. Sign Presenter. Okay, yeah. That's what I was thinking about. I was like, I know about Sign Presenter, and I've not got to use that yet. So yeah, what you're saying is you got it set up to where you got your Fire Stick on Sign Presenter, and you can't get the Fire Stick to open or show on. So do you have the Fire Stick plugged into the TV? Because it should be plugged into a TV monitor, right, for it to work. I think that's how they've got that set up to where it works. And then, and you guys help me out. I can't recall how the Fire Sticks work. Do they require you to have? Do they connect Wi-Fi, or does the TV have to have a Ethernet plugged into the back of it? I can't remember. Let me know. But I believe they work. They'll set up Wi-Fi. So it's plugged into the back of the TV, and you're trying to override that Sign Presenter slideshow with FreeShow. Or are you trying to just connect wirelessly from FreeShow to show the slides that you want to show on your Fire Stick? Let me know. I'm curious. That's interesting. All right. Going back to FreeShow, so they've tweaked a few things. So they updated the a new action/timer/variable pop-up. All right. So this is interesting because basically they it just really looks a lot different. So if we go to our functions, and these are some of the ones I create. Okay. So yeah, it connects to Wi-Fi, and you try to connect it to Wi-Fi, Janet. I'm just looking at your notes here. So you're trying to connect, and tell me how it works, because I'm not got to play with Sign Presenters, the rest of the church apps programs or whatnot. Do you have to upload the stuff online to a Sign Presenter interface online, and then plug in the Fire Stick, and then just let it run? Like you go to that on the inputs on your TV, and it'll just you pick the options and whatnot. It opens. Then I open Sign Presenter on your. I'm guessing all on your computer or on the Fire Stick, the app, and run my announcement slides. Okay, and so that's just directly related to that particular monitor. It has very little to do with FreeShow, right? You don't need FreeShow doesn't have any interaction with that process. It runs independent of FreeShow. Now, if you're trying to make that monitor get something to it from FreeShow, I'm guessing you wouldn't need to change the inputs on the TV monitor, if that makes sense. Okay. Let me know if that makes sense. All right. And so if we go to our actions, for example, and we say new action, they've updated how this works and how it looks. So we can call this new action. I'm just going to say new action for now because I don't have any actions that I'm looking to make. But you can select choose to start action, and this has been reorganized in a really helpful way, right? So this is really cool to where it shows you, okay, these are all project actions. These are all show actions. These are all slide actions. Clearing out actions, media, output, audio, timers, functions. This is where the variables are, which is really cool, and so forth and so on. And so this is a really, really nice layout when it comes to using FreeShow, because it does streamline it to where you can find them a lot easier. Before, they just used to be listed all out, right? How many of you guys have noticed this in the 139 update to be able to use it, and it's easier for you to navigate? Because for me, I would just kind of scroll through and I'm like, I just got an idea of where things were. Now I can actually tell exactly where everything is based on these headers, which is really helpful, really clean. I love that layout, and it's the same way. So it's the pop-up window for the action timer variable stuff. All right. It says new number variable control. In the chat, let me know, has anybody used the variable settings in FreeShow? Up until last week, I had not used them before. Up until this week, I should say, because I can't remember when I made this scoreboard video, but I had never used them. So this is some stuff I was using to test that out. But if you do new variable, this is the cool thing. So you can select if it's a number variable or a text variable. And we'll do number, all right? And so you can name it whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna call this questions asked. All right, so I could make a whole default value could be 0. So let's say I was tallying up the questions that get asked on the YouTube chat. So I can set that up. So I've got, where did it go? Okay, here we go. So questions asked is right here. And it looks cool, really cool setup. It almost looks like a little scoreboard. But let's see how this interacts and how it works. If I go into, I'm gonna go to FreeShow Friday just to, let's go. We'll say we were doing this particular slideshow. Okay, this is one we did that was called Planning for FreeShow. All right, and so let's say I wanted to use this, but I wanted to make a portion of here in this slideshow that showed a counter for all the questions that get asked. Right, so I'm gonna go to this slide and I'll say edit, and I'm gonna go up to items. I'm going to add a new item. I'm going to call it a text box. I'm going to pull this up and just to this top corner here. All right. And the cool thing about this is when you go into this text box, you can right click, and there's this option called dynamic values. All right. Dynamic values are where these variables actually work and live, to where you can scroll through, and at the very bottom, you're going to see the ones that you created, all right? And so I got one that's called, let me see if I can make this to not be off to the side. It's running off so you guys can't see it all, but I'm going to right-click again, and we'll do dynamic values. And if I scroll down, you'll see all these dynamic values that I've made that are variables, and this one's the last one called questions asked, all right? So I put that in there, it fills in and it's really long, right? It looks kind of weird, but that's okay. I'm gonna set it to auto size. So it's there. I'm gonna make it be a little narrower. We're just gonna put it at the top. And this is gonna be like a counter, okay? A little counter. And I'll show it. Let's go back to the show. And actually what I'll do is I'm gonna put it on each of these particular. So I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna go to this page, paste it there. Go to this page, paste it there. Go to this page, paste it there. Now the easier thing to do, even better, let's do this, let's undo that. We can make it into an overlay. And this is where it gets really fun because you can just turn the overlay on and off. So let's take these out. I'm gonna delete these out and let's do it as an overlay all together. So I'm gonna take that all out. Let's just go to overlay. So if you gotta put it on all these, when you start putting stuff and copying it on a bunch of different slides, when I start doing that, I start thinking, okay, can this just be something different as an overlay? And this is where overlays can be helpful. So I'm gonna say new overlay, and I'm gonna call it questions asked. And you all can be as creative as you want to. So I hit enter, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that new text box again. We're gonna just start it kind of over a little bit, put it up here in the top corner, small as I can get it without it being invisible, but just like that. And then we're gonna go and right click on it. All right, dynamic values. I'm gonna scroll down. I already added the dynamic variable, so it's here, and it shows up there, and it's all huge. So I got to go to auto size on the text box, and it automatically makes it shrink to fit. All right, and it's saying, hey, whatever you put into in that counter and your variables, whatever you make that number, it's gonna show up here. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back to my show. I'm here. I got the overlays, and I gotta go, these are in alphabetical order. Let's go to questions asked. Boom. I click that, you'll see a little 0 pop up because it's defaulting to 0 questions asked to start with. When I go to my functions, I can change this by just hitting this little plus arrow. And let's see, let's go to, I'm just looking back on the chat. Let's see if we got any questions. We had, a question from Brian. He asked about ProPresenter using macros, so I'm a +1 there. And then he was talking about having 3 laptops syncing with Google Sync. That's another one. And then we got Janet. She asked about the difference between PDF and PowerPoint. And let's see here. And so I can count all these up, and then I can pull it in, and you'll see now it's showing the 4 because I counted it up to 4, and this will happen in real time on each of your slides. So if I go to the next slide, since it's an overlay, that 4 still stays there, and I don't have my other monitor, but if I had another monitor, I could still be running FreeShow and keep counting this up as they come in, and you'll see that it automatically changes there. All right, so let me see the latest questions you guys had while I've been typing all this up. And say, so John says, text variables to get on stage. Just started to use variables. Too bad the overlays cannot be used on stage view. Very true, but they don't need to be used on stage view because you don't need them there. Let's see if we can put them in there. That's a good question. I have not tried this on stage view. So if we go to stage view, we got timers, output, and then the variables are down here, right? So what you would do is you would just drag that variable. So let's go to this stage. So you can just click the variable. That's a text variable. Let me take that one out. That was one for a game. And so scroll down below timers. You'll see your variables. As long as you've created a variable, it'll show up down here. So I can hit questions asked, and it shows up there. So John, yeah, they will work. They'll work in the stage view. All right. So you don't need this. So you won't need it to be an overlay because basically stage view is just kind of like a big overlay, right? It's just a compilation of a lot of different overlays. It's all there all the time. It doesn't change, you know, it's like it's static, right? So that's how overlays are to me. They're just a static overlay. The whole stage view is kind of like that. Let me know if that makes sense, John. But yeah, you can do that. So when I change this here, when I change the elements, the stage view will change as well. We'll change that variable. When I go up to 8 here, I just arrowed up to 8, and I go back to my stage view, it's going to show that 8. Okay, so you don't necessarily need it to be the overlay. You would just have to add the element, right? So you would just pick through from all this. So if you've never made a variable, you probably didn't have any down there. But once you make a variable, you will see that down here. And I'm not sure if that's new in the 139 update, because like you, I didn't use variables very much at all either. But yes, you won't necessarily need them to be overlays though. Okay. Let me know what you guys think about the overlay, the variable function, right? How to do that. It says groups list are sorted better by name and number. Now I don't use the groups, so I can't really speak to that. I think that has to do with the chords and stuff like that, like the musical groups right here. And I don't have anything that has, I don't do a lot of stuff with music. So you guys that are musical, have that background, some of you all may be worship leaders and you're doing this, you guys are the experts at the group stuff. I have no clue about that, but it's organized a little bit better, kind of like how the actions and timers and variables probably are organized a lot better as well. Let's see, we got somebody else. So yeah, John says yes, but the case where you don't need the whole time, the message, just an announcement for like 3 minutes at the end of a service. Oh, well, you don't need it on the stage view the whole time. I got you. Yeah, but you know what? In that case, John, what I would do is actions are your friend. So what I would do is just change the stage view with an action. Okay, so make another stage view that shows what you want, right? So you got one that shows what you want for the most of the service, and then you have another one that shows what you want for the last 3 minutes of the service. I would just create an action, and in that action, I'm gonna say, let's say, I'm gonna call it change stage view, right? And this is where you can literally do all that stuff, which is kind of cool. All right, so you can say choose action, all right? And we want to change, let's say, this is outputs. So we got stage connection and we got change stage output layout, all right? You would just pick that. And so the stage layout that you want, you would pick that one. And so you would say, okay, I want to go to the 49, I got a 45-minute speaker deal, and I want it to go to, these are your different stage outputs. So you would have usually just one stage output active. I got a bunch of them that I've input. I don't keep them all active at the same time, but for most of you, you're gonna just have one stage output option here. So you would just make it go to that stage output that it gives you. And so you would say, I want that to change the layout on stage, okay? And hit that. And so now in your functions, we've got, what's it called, change? I call it change stage. So change stage view, when you click that, it'll automatically change. So if I go here, I'm gonna pull up my stage views, my outputs. So I've got, right now, this stage view is set to stage training layout, right? And so it looks like this. This is the stage training. This is just my stuff that I've been typing out and working with. It's got like a, the notes, some speaker slide notes down here. That's what I was testing out for you guys. All right, so if I go back to my show and I click change stage view, check that out. It automatically changes here, right? And if you want to change back, just make another action that does that for you, John, so you can make it do that. And you can do it to where that action, this is where it gets fun. I'm telling you, it gets fun. So you can actually make it, put that action, let's say change stage view. Where'd it go? Okay, so here, you can drag that onto an actual slide that you want it to happen on. Okay, so using those actions to your advantage is going to be key, but knowing that they actually are able to be using your advantage is the biggest key, right? So I wanted to make sure that's clear. So let me know if that helps you out, John, to think about it in a little bit different way. So yes, you can do that. And then we got someone new, Sar Tansu. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. He says, I use actions to automate overlays. However, with the new upgrade, it only displays one overlay automate at a time. For instance, you cannot automate logo and lower third to display at the same time from the same action you're saying, right? And Sartansu, tell me where you're from. I love that name, and I'm sorry that I'm probably butchering it, but let me know where you're from. And so I'm gonna take this off. I don't need that there, but John, check that out. Let me know if that action makes sense. So Sartansu was saying that if you do an action related to adding an overlay, so I'm gonna say add overlay. Let's do logo. And then you said it doesn't let you do two things. So we're gonna try to see if it let us do two things, or if a way that we can make it do two things. So he said choose action, and let's see, do they have an option for overlays? So I don't see anything for overlays. Let's see where we would do that. Open project, show, start times. Okay, here we go. So we got clear overlays. Let's say, okay, so start an overlay here. So under media, we got the option to start an overlay. So I'm gonna click that, and then it gives you the little dash to say, okay, which overlay do you want to start? I've got a bunch of them. So I'm gonna do the Garry B. Jr. logo, and I'm gonna do add again. And what you're saying is, if I were to go to media, boom, it's gone. So it doesn't let you do both at the same time. Let's see if there's a way to work around that. That's a good question, a good issue to point out. I wonder if we can do the wait. Let's say wait, .1 second. Let's see if it let me add in another one now under media. No, it's still gone. Interesting. I don't know that they knew that they took that out of there. That's a good point to consider, Sartan, so that it's not there anymore. I see the clear overlays, clear audio, clear next slide timer. The only thing that I can think, let me see something. Can you add more than one action though to a slide? So let's say we're gonna do change stage view. I'm gonna add that here, and then I want to, what do we say, add overlay. So it's add logo, add that in. So you can stack them. You could do it that way, to where you can just stack them on the actual slides that you want, Sartansu, and they'll stack up at the same time. So you can do two overlays, you know, but they're two separate actions, like you said. Now, in the past, with them being able to be stacked before, that's interesting that it doesn't let you do that now, which we need to look into that. That's a good question, how to stack those overlays. So if I were to go back, I'm gonna go back to my functions. I'm tallying up some questions here, so I'm gonna add another one. I didn't keep up with those. I probably inflated that number to 9. It probably is not that 9. But I love that I can do that. So I can see that, oh, it's there. Nine questions asked. You can put a little note here as a part of that overlay that says questions, and it says 9, right? So that's a really cool thing that you or someone else on the team can manage in FreeShow to just kind of keep that counter going, right? Just keep a counter, and they can run it remotely if they need to, right? I think, look, that's a good question. Now, I don't know if they can run that remotely, the actions. I may have spoken out of turn there. Let's see. Can you run actions remotely? I see the remote show. I don't think it'll let you control those remotely unless you like sharing like a mirrored screen or something like that, okay? But that would be cool to control those. I have to look more into that. I'm not gonna speak to that too much, all right? And then we got set scripture style template for different collections. Now this one, I could not figure that one out. Has anybody played with that yet, to where you can set a collection to have a certain scripture style? And I take that back. I think I did test it out, to where once you set it, let's see here. I'm gonna see if any of these will change, because I tested it out on some. And I'm looking at this scripture style here. No, that didn't change. That didn't change. That didn't change it. No, I thought it would change, you guys. I don't see it changing. But there's a way to make these have a certain template tied to them. So if I said this one, this is the King James and Brazil Bible, right? If I want that one to have just a 2 scripture setup, okay? And I go to this one, it stays there. It just stays there. I don't see how to do that, so I have to look into that, but that is a really cool feature if it does work. Nairobi, Kenya. All right, Sartan, so nice to see you, or nice to hear from you. I've been to Nairobi, actually, believe it or not. That was 2023, I believe, so almost 2.5 years ago. And it was really cool. Been to Kenya. We went to Nairobi, we went to Kakamega, and we went to Mombasa, all in the same trip. And it was unbelievable, unbelievable. I was actually working I was filming a documentary, and so we got to go to all these connect with all these different pastors and leaders there. And I was working with a group to help. I was 2022. My wife just helped me out. And so we got to work with them to develop some see what they were doing to develop their farms and stuff like that. I don't do anything with farming. I was just holding the camera and capturing it, right? So it was really cool. All right. But yeah, I'm not sure. I wonder if I have to make a new deal. Let me see if I do amplified in the Berean Study Bible, and I right click. It says new collection. So let's see what it is. Amplified Bible in Berean. If I right click on that, it doesn't, it says new scripture. I wonder what that's about. If I click that, oh, it lets you add a new scripture, but I don't see how to do the templates for those right away, at least. But that's a new feature that's in there as well. Media item data will also be transferred in the project export. That's a big deal for some. Dropping a template to a slide will update instantly. And so this was something that was a correction from the last one. Is I was having you guys, I'm gonna take these actions off. But Sartan, so does that make sense? You can add multiple actions to the same slide to activate it. Unlike what you were doing before, which is really cool. I like the way you were talking about it though, where you can actually just click one action to do two things with one click. This will take a little bit more preparation to drag two onto one slide, kind of like what we were talking about with John when he was talking about changing the stage view. Dragging it onto the spot where you need it to change is a way that you can manage those actions to have more than one, okay? What was that last one we were on? So dragging and dropping templates. So in the last FreeShow Friday, I believe it was, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, I was talking to you guys about changing the template. So this is one here. Let's do presentations, that's fine. I was saying in order to lock the template in, you need to drag it on to the show, and that's not accurate. Ultimately, all you have to do is when you click it, it automatically is locked into that particular show anytime you show that show. So if this is planning for FreeShow, if I right click on that and I remove it and I go to another project, that was FreeShow Friday. Let's go into KETCI. All right, so let's go to FreeShow Friday in my shows, and it should have that white template there again, and this would be presentations. And where is it at? Did I make it a song? I was not organizing these really good, you guys, so let's see. It shouldn't be in here. That's FreeShow virtual slides. I got stuff everywhere. Let's see. This is not a good tip for you guys. Make sure don't do what I did. Oh no, it was called planning for FreeShow. That's what it's called. Okay. So I'm gonna drag this in. So it was in my presentations, which is great. So when I click on that, no, it didn't lock it in. Interesting. I thought it would save it, but I think maybe it just saves it on that particular project. But what I was used to doing was, I was told if you click that, it locks it in, but it did not. And so what I was doing was I was dragging this on. Let's see here. Oh, it's on there. It's kind of hidden, I think. Let's see. If I drag that on there, no, it didn't go on there. Let's do it from here. Maybe it's because it's already there, maybe. Let me see if this will work. Okay, so I switched that one. And what that does is it actually changes one slide at a time, right? And then this slide has a whole different template. So you can do multiple templates on one show. It can be beneficial in some instances. I don't recommend doing it all the time because if you need to change the template for a particular portion of your show, it might be best just to make it a whole nother show. But you can change the entire show template by just simply clicking on it. Okay, so if I go back here, and I'm gonna take this off and I click that, it automatically updates to be that particular template. I actually had this one on it. So I had this particular template here, but I didn't want it to be here because this was supposed to be like a title. So this is a time where it could be helpful. So I can drag on this header template to just this particular slide. And that's what I would do. So it actually worked. And these would still have the formatting from the rest of the default template. But when I click on this one, notice that this is still the default template. I've just dragged, basically, when you drag a template onto a slide, it kind of overrides whatever the default template is, if that makes sense. And so you can do that in a way that is beneficial for you if you have, like I did, I wanted to have one where the header was centered, and every time I would click the template, it would actually reset it back up to the top. I wanted it to stay centered, and so I made a new template for it, and I can just drag that onto my header page, and it saves it that way. So this has to do with slide design, but it's something to keep in mind for you. Let's see here. The other one is the drag and drop variable to show will create a slide. So dragging and dropping variables. And then before we do that, let's talk about this next one. Increment and decrement. I don't know. I didn't know that that was a word, decrement. I would call it de-increment. So increment and decrement variables are variable with actions. And so you could, I made some variables here. So we had this scoreboard that I was playing with. Let me see where did I save the scoreboard? I think it was, what's my latest show? Oh, here we go, sports scoreboard. And so I was playing with a scoreboard idea that looked like this, okay? And you can see the video on how I made it. But what the issue was we got this timer, which is great, and I got this overlay still on, so that's all that is. That's not a part of the template. Let me go back and turn that overlay off. It's highlighted here in pink, so I can turn off my questions overlay off. But what I did was I wanted to make a scoreboard like a basketball game. So if you wanted to use FreeShow to maybe your ministry, or maybe you do on the side, you video record basketball games or football games or soccer games, you could do that with FreeShow and have an active scoreboard. And this team has 2,026 points. I was playing with that, so don't worry, they did not blow them out that bad. But with the functions, you can go to your variables and you can do a number variable, right? So the number variable works just like the word variable, well, not the word, but the number. So I did the number here. So I created these as number variables as well. So I can click in here and I can make that be 0. And notice that it automatically changes on the scoreboard, right? And then we added this option. So this is I think the first one's the home team. So if I go down, so this is the home team score here. New home, and that's on the left side, and then the away is on the right side. These are just in alphabetical order, so that's why they're arranged that way. I think it would be nice to have a way to kind of manually move them where you want them to be, but that's a whole nother story. The cool thing is when you +1, it'll +1. But if you want it to be, instead of +1, let's make it be a 2-pointer. You can click on this and make it go up by hitting it one time, but it goes up by 2 points, okay? So you can make your increments be by a certain score. Like in basketball, 2-pointers are normal, 3-pointers are becoming more normal. But the crazy thing is you don't want to go down here and make more clicks for yourself to have to change that to a 3, right? And so there was a way that they added an option to just do it with one click from an action. And so if I go to actions, I've created these: 1 point for away team, 1 point for home team, 2 points for away, 2 points for home, 3 points for away, 3 points for home. So now if I say 3 points for home team, when I click that one time, it adds 3 points. So I don't have to go into the deal and increment by hitting the plus sign 3 times. I can just go here to set up an action. And the way you do that is kind of cool, right? So it was new action, and I'm gonna just say add, I'll say 4 points. We'll do 4-pointers. Home team, all right. You can say choose action, and we're gonna go down to our functions. We're gonna say change a variable, because we made a variable, okay? And it says, okay, which variable? So this is the home team, so I gotta find a variable that talks about the home team. So I got the new away and new home. So I'm gonna say new home score, and it's the mode. Do you want it to be a value, or do you want it to be an increment or a decrement? So I'm gonna say increment it, and it says how much. I'm gonna say by 4 points, not 5, all right? So now I can close that out, and now I've got this 4-point home. So they got 4 points right now. When I click it one time, it goes up to 8 points. That's a really cool feature if you want to really emphasize or put into action this scoreboard option that is available to you, okay? And like I said, it doesn't have to be a scoreboard for a game. You could do this in the middle of a service, right? If the minister's talking about using sports as an analogy, you can do something like that. My wife was talking about it for like if you wanted to recreate some type of feel for like a TV show or something like that, and you want to keep score for whose team is doing what, or maybe there's a challenge that's going on the stage during service, and one team has to, everybody's got the same timer, but they start the timer, and then whoever, you know, I don't know, bobs for apples the most, whatever the activity is, you can keep that as a running score by just single clicking these actions that you create to manage them. Really cool. Check out the video if you want to learn more about that. But it's a really cool feature that kind of expands our thinking from a media team perspective to be more creative. From my perspective, that was my take on it. It helps me be more creative, to think outside the box, and to have less limitations when it comes to what we use this program for. All right. Let's see here. So online videos are always foreground now. And so this is interesting because in the past, when you would click an online video, it would always play in the background. All right, so if we go to online, and this is the video I've got here. When I click it, it's thinking, because I got a slow internet speed, so bear with me, you guys. And so it actually plays right over the top here, all right? And it's trying to play, I should say. And, oh, there it goes, it's working. And so it's just playing right over the top. It covers up everything. When I deselect it, it just goes, it takes the screen away, and I can bring this back up, all right? In the past, it would have played up under like how our media used to do in the past, all right? And then, let's see here, online videos are always foreground, and then foreground video will clear the slide when played, which is what just happened. It cleared the slide out, as you noticed. And then you can set an image to a foreground type. Now, this one I haven't played with yet. Let's see here, when we go to media, let's go to, those are wallpaper photos. Let's do a wallpaper photo. Those are too big. I don't like those. They're huge files. Yellow box. Okay. I had to change my view because it wasn't showing up. All right, so let's go to, not lower thirds. Let's do clean backdrops. Those will be, let's change it to be those. Okay. And if I right click on this and I do edit, let's see. If I go to edit, it says type and then fit, that's fine. If we go to, where's the option for the foreground? I thought it was in here. It gives you the option to flip it, but, oh, here we go, type, that's it. So it's default right now, but you can change that type to be background or foreground, okay? So we're the default to being one of those, and then the fit is the same. Same options for fit, all right? But that type is something you can change to where you can make it always be a foreground object. So when you bring in images that you need to be like a part of a presentation, those are typically not going to be background images. Those are going to be foreground images. And so I would make those, I would go into those when you import them. So like those are usually like pictures of people, you know, maybe you're showing something from an outreach event or you're showing pictures from a mission trip. I would go into those when you add them into your media and make them default to be a foreground image because you want those to be over the top. Typically, you don't want those to be in the background. They're not like a background image, right? Like this is a background, so I would keep it in the background. All right, let's go back, see what other options have been added. Set image to foreground, option to check for beta versions. That's a cool deal. And then they've added more actions and then some other small tweaks. Here's some bug fixes. I'm not going to go into those too much. Let's see, fixed text align, sometimes not updating value. If you run into any of those, that's a really cool update. And this is interesting. They're almost at 1.5 million downloads, which is really cool, right? So hopefully you all got some good info from this that you can start to implement. I wish I could answer more of those questions. Janet, did you ever, let's see here, Firestick opens, then I open Sign Presenter and run my announcements. I know, Janet, we had a couple more questions about your Sign Presenter. Hopefully you were able to get some answers in there. Thank you for joining us. If not, let me know if we didn't get to answer all your questions because I'm curious about that. And then I think Dilson, had a question. Let's see here. I can't see it here. Let's see here. Find a way to fix that. Yeah, this is your question about the Google Cloud Sync. That one, I know John said he was running into that as well. That might be a Reddit feed. You might need to submit that question because it sounds specific. I want to make sure that they can get some feedback from you if they need to, or you can even go to GitHub and make it post it as an issue with your particular situation. It sounds like you were saying the media is not carrying over. I need to do some follow-up about the PDFs. Those were not functioning as they used to in the previous version, so that might just be a bug fix they need to fix to make sure the PDF A's at least will show. And someone else had a question, about the PTZ cameras. That one was talking about the MIDI controls and comparing it to ProPresenter. I remember a little bit. Who asked that? That one was pretty complex. It sounded pretty cool. I can't find it now. Oh, that was Brian. Okay. In ProPresenter, you can use macros so that when a slide advances, it can send a MIDI message to change PTZ cameras and/or presets. In FreeShow, I would probably, thinking about that question now, I would probably think that those macros are just like how we would use actions in FreeShow. It says, an individual could run everything. Can you show us how? So that would be probably just using actions. And we've highlighted a little bit of that already, Brian, but yes, so in FreeShow under functions, and then they do have this option called triggers. I just don't have a MIDI control. I have not played with triggers yet, so I need to figure out how to use triggers. That's a really cool question to ask. Let's see, unless you put all kind of stuff in here, but I've not played with those to know what they do. But I believe they have to do with the MIDI controllers, right? It says, triggers are commonly used to send HTTP requests to change the preset of cameras. So this is where your triggers would be used for like the PTZ cameras that you were talking about to change what the defaults are. So that would be all under the functions tab here, and then you can set different actions as well, kind of tied to that, I believe. If we go to actions and we say new action, let's say, I'm gonna just say test for now. If I go to choose action, we've got the triggers as a part of that, so we can say start trigger, and you can pick one of your triggers, and then you can add in another one that has to do with adding an overlay or any other action you want. It could change a variable or whatever you need. Here's some, send a MIDI signal. I think you talked about that. All that's in there, and hopefully that helps make sense of it. When you first asked it, I was like, I don't even understand what that's about. But hopefully that helps. So under the functions, you'll be able to see a lot of those answers. But you got to set them up, though. Okay, you got to set those up. Okay, let's see here. John said current output. Okay, John, is the current output working for you in stage view? That's a good question. I've not tried using that lately, only because current output drained my system. I didn't like that. And that was maybe 4 versions ago. I just stopped doing it. Let me see. So stage, let's test it out now. I'm gonna take out the questions asked, and we're gonna go to current output. And it's here. Looked like it popped up there. And I don't see anything showing up here. But let me make sure I'm actually outputting something, because I don't know what I've got set up with me just having this one monitor. Let's see here. So I got this set as an invisible window, so it should show up. I can't hit that, but let's see. Stage. Let's see if it updated. Nope, it didn't update. Let's do show again, or let's go to edit again. I want to see if I can make it be my primary. So another cool thing I like about it, it's got these little check boxes showing you which ones are active. That one's really cool for me as well in terms of update. But let's turn off. Oh, it doesn't. It's on. That's fine. When I did the output, it stopped. I don't know what screen this is, because I only got one screen right now. So let's see. That probably won't work. Let's see. All right, so it's showing that there. There we go. It's showing this, but this is my stage, so I have to right click. This is my actual monitor I'm using. I can't test that out right now, John, but at first glance, it doesn't seem to be working. And oh, here we go. It's coming up. Yeah, so it's working. It's just slow. I'm not sure why it's so slow. I will say that. But I do have this video running, so that probably is a part of it. So let me change my show to be something a little bit more static, like just the slides, right? So let's go to FreeShow Friday. Preparation. Let's plug that in. And let's see what the stage view looks like. And I just feel my system lagging with that current output. So I stopped using those current outputs, man. It would slow down the system so much. So if I go to the right, it shows up. And so yeah, it's working. It's working on my end. I'm just arrowing to the right, and you can see my primary change there, and it changes here. Now, the issue I'm having, the reason why my stuff is cut off, I believe, is because, let me see here. My screen resolution is very different. And so it's cutting it off there. Preparation, define. Yeah, it should all be there. But this is why I don't like to use the current output, John. It slows down quite a bit for me. And I've got like I said, a MacBook, M1 Pro MacBook Pro, all right? And so I don't typically use that just because of the toll that it takes on my system. I've only got, I think, 16 gigs of RAM, and so that could be a part of it as well. It's trying to process all that real time, and it just doesn't do really good. So I don't use that as reliable, because I made a video about that, about optimizing the performance, because that was something that a problem that I raised in Reddit, I believe, to let them know, hey, it seems like it's lagging, or somebody else asked it, and I just caught on to it, like, oh, that's how you fix it, is you actually have to update and take that off of your stage view, and it'll actually run a lot better. All right. So yes, it does work on my end. What were you trying to run on yours, John? Were you trying to run video like that? Like I had this background video. Were you trying to do something like that, or were you trying to do just general slides? Because my general slides worked fine as well. My slides just look funky just because I'm not quite sure what's up with that. Let's see. Oh, because it's not set to fit. So if I auto fit it, it fits fine. This one's set to auto fit, but for whatever reason, this particular, this slide is now, okay. So yeah, this slideshow, I didn't set it to auto fit. That's the reason why that was running off like that, real weird. So if I update now, it's all there. Yeah. So you said yours did not run at all at first. Yeah, well, oh, or mine's. Yeah, mine's didn't run at all at first. It was completely blank. I don't know why it did that. And I do remember it being a lot smoother before, if I go back to my stage view. So everything is still lagging right now. The whole system is still lagging for me. Trying to recover, I guess, from that, or I don't know what it's doing. But if I go back to that current output and I click it once, it popped up pretty quick that time. I'm not sure why, but it did. It says, oh, you said then you got it to print something, but it looked weird. Did not update the content. Interesting. Very interesting. I'm sorry that happened, man. I'm not sure what would cause that though, because like I said, I'm on 139 and it's working fine. I mean, it's functional. It's working about like it used to for me. I don't know if there's a way they can optimize that with everybody using so many different systems, but yeah, it works. I would try maybe uninstall, reinstall the FreeShow system and see if that does anything. Maybe take off the current output from your stage view and then add it back. See if that does anything. That's interesting. And then even just create a new stage view. See if you can create a new stage view and check it out to compare it to see if it's maybe something wrong with that particular stage view that you had, and it, maybe it made it 5 iterations ago, 5 versions ago, and it needs to be updated or something. I'm not sure. That's a good question. A lot of back and forth about stage, or about the current output. Interesting. Yeah, I don't get on GitHub as much as I get on Reddit, and I'm not at all on Facebook, you guys. So someone asked me about that, and I was like, no, I don't even do Facebook. But if you guys see questions there, feel free to send them my way. You can put them in a comment on YouTube or something like that. And if you're on the mailing list, my email list, you can email me back, and I can do my best to reply to those emails as needed. And my responses are usually going to be generic unless you want to do some type of consultation where I can see your screen and see exactly what you're doing. It'd be kind of hard for me to do it unless I can recreate it. And if I do, I'll try to make a video about it so we can recreate and see it. And it'll hopefully help just not just us, but everybody else as well in the community as best we can, at least. So I'm excited about this iteration, you guys. I love 139. It definitely has some hiccups that we can work through, but at the same time, a lot of cool improvements. That interface for the variables, it just, to me, it looks really sweet, but I never really used them beforehand, so I don't know how it looks, to be honest with you. It may have always looked like this, believe it or not. I just never used it. But I know the ability to add in those actions, to increment and decrement, that is really cool, to where you can actually make a default scoreboard and then add it by one click 3 points, add by one click 2 points, add with one click 1 pointers. That is something that is really volunteer friendly, and I love that. I love it a lot. All right. What other questions do you guys have for me before I let you go? And I don't know if you guys have noticed, there's a lot of organization, right? So we've seen this be organized, the timers. I like how they organized that to put those headers there. There was something else that I loved the way they organized it. I like the action, the action organization. Oh, this is really cool too. The way this looks on your styles right here, and I think this was in the beta test, when you select max lines per text box, that is really cool. So it gives you a new visual to where you can select 1, 2, 3, or 4, or you can pick a custom value as well for how many lines you want to show per slide. This used to be kind of convoluted. You just type in a number and that was it. But it's showing now all lines as a default, which is good, and or you can make it be certain number of lines, right? The timers, yeah, I like the new organization on the timers too. That is a really sweet layout. I just like that the program is constantly improving. But yeah, that timer layout, really nice, really clean and easy to act, to use. I've got a load of them, so most people probably won't have this many timers. If we did a consultation and you wanted to set up FreeShow, what I would do is I would ask you, do you have a timer for the worship time if you have that, or for the speaking time, or for your intro time, and you just have those few timers in here. That would be the most typical. I've got a bunch of them just because I test out so many of them and different things and so forth, right? But yeah, I agree with you on that one. But the overview when things are happening. So we talked about how to change PowerPoint into images, how to change PDFs into images. And if you're on in the impromptu situation where you got to change scriptures, I think we all know it, but you can always go down to your scriptures and just click a version of the Bible. We can do amplified or whatever, and just double click it. Just double click that verse, and it'll automatically pop up real time. If you want to make a quick slideshow out of it, you can by doing a Command A or Windows A in here, and it'll select all of them, and you can right click and say New Show, and that way you'll have all of them. What I don't like about that is it puts in the whole range that you selected as the reference, but this, it actually shows, and let me see, I don't think I have my, okay, let's see. This particular look, oh yeah, I don't have my show reference activated on this particular setup. So you see it says Amplified Bible, but if I scroll down and say show reference, it's just lagging on me. Hold on, let's see. If I say show reference here, you can show that reference and it'll show the exact scripture that you've selected or popped up. All right. But, oh, it's because of my internet, you guys. Sorry, let's see. Let's do New Living Translation. I got really slow internet. All right. So let's do this, and that show reference is on. I could turn it back off. But yeah, so it'll look like what it looks like, to where it'll pop up and show you the actual reference and the version, and that's the case. My computer's kind of flaking out. I don't know what's going on with it. I think John, you might have broke my computer, man, making me do those, not making me, but asking me to do those output, current output deals. This is what it used to do. It just start to lag and slow down over time. So I used to have to just restart the program, and it'll kind of clear up a little bit. But with that being said, you guys have a great rest of the day, and we'll go from there, man. We look forward to having some more videos come out this week as we test out more. I'll try to make a slideshow or get some feedback about the PowerPoint and PDFs. That's still been a problem, a pain point for a lot of people. So we'll go from there to figure it out.